Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is another collaboration with Paranormalauraa. I'll list the link to her channel in the description box below. This time we're doing a list of 5 haunted asylums in our own countries. Now during my research I found information about many asylums that had been abandoned, but they were not necessarily haunted. So here is my list of the ones known to be associated with paranormal experiences. Here are 5 haunted asylums in Australia. Number 1. Llorando Hospital in Victoria. Able to accommodate as many as 750 patients, Llorando Asylum began admitting its first psychiatric patients in 1953. Llorando dealt with patients suffering from acute psychiatric, psychotic and schizophrenic disorders, but it was abandoned in the 1990s, falling to ruin, with part of the property being converted into residential buildings. Since that time, paranormal enthusiasts have investigated and explored the area. Some say that ghostly activity includes loud banging on the walls, strange smells, and the sound of children crying. This could date back to a little girl rumoured to have died on the 3rd floor. Some claim to have heard a music box playing just before or at midnight. The last remains of Llorando Mental Asylum are still awaiting demolition. Number 2. Callan Park, New South Wales. Callan Park Hospital for the Insane was constructed in 1880, receiving its first patients in 1884. It would appear that Ward 18 is the place where most paranormal activity seems to be focused. Witnesses have reported sightings of apparitions and voices, as well as screams and moaning. Ghosts at Callan Park include an apparition of a young girl and an old woman have also been reported from inside Ward 18. A groundskeeper working at the hospital has told of ghostly activity within the gardens of Callan Park, as well as strange noises, voices and screaming coming from within the chapel, which was locked at the time. The claims have prompted several paranormal groups to carry out investigations at Callan Park. In 1991, repair works were carried out on the Kirkbride building and it was converted into a facility for use by the Sydney College of the Arts. Number 3. Fremantle Museum and Arts Centre, Western Australia. The Fremantle Museum and Arts Centre was built by convicts in 1861 to be used as an asylum for the criminally insane. It is reportedly one of the most haunted buildings in Western Australia. Stories include at least 3 ghosts who walk the corridors, including the ghost of an elderly lady who had jumped from a 1st floor window to her death, driven mad by the torment of having her baby taken from her. A child's voice has also been heard singing in the room from where the woman died. Today, the woman allegedly still searches for her daughter. Some of the ghosts are less friendly than others. Security guards have refused to enter a certain part of the asylum after being pushed down a stairwell by an unseen force. In addition, visitors have reported being touched by phantom lips from the so-called kissing ghost. There is also a story of poltergeist activity, which centered around a little girl who was locked in one of the cells some years ago. The terrified girl started banging on the door, screaming for the door to be unlocked. According to legend, every window in the building vibrated violently, and the doors started opening and closing by themselves. Number 4. Beechworth Asylum, Victoria. Originally known as Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum, Beechworth is a decommissioned psychiatric hospital currently owned by La Trobe University. Beechworth was the 4th large mental institution of its kind to be built in Victoria, and is one of the largest. Built in 1867, the hospital closed in 1995 after 128 years of operation. It is one of the most haunted asylums in Australia. Some of the ghosts reported to haunt Beechworth Asylum include a man who appears for just a moment near the cellar, then vanishes. An old man in a green jacket wandering around the gardens, perhaps a previous groundskeeper, as well as Matron Sharp, a kind nurse who spent most of her life there. She has been spotted several times in her old-fashioned grey uniform walking down the main staircase. Doors swing open by themselves, and screams are even heard on occasion at Beechworth. One of the most tragic ghosts seems to be the woman seen standing at the window from which she was apparently pushed by other inmates. Number 5. Kenmore Insane Asylum, New South Wales. Opened in 1895, this massive hospital now stands abandoned on 75 hectares in the New South Wales town of Goulburn. The hospital gained a notorious reputation over the years, using shock therapy to treat homosexuality, while noisy or violent patients were hosed down daily. It is said that scratches can still be found on the backs of doors within these rooms, where patients attempted to claw their way to freedom. There were also a series of deaths that occurred within the facility. In 1902, a patient named Henry Bailey hung himself from a window shutter with the restraints used to tie him to the bed. A few years later, 21 patients died when an influenza epidemic engulfed the asylum. 3 years later, a 24-year-old soldier named Richard Sindel, committed to the asylum after World War II due to shell shock, shot at a number of staff within the grounds. Paranoid that they were out to get him, he injured a doctor and killed a nurse. The nurse died at the scene, and a wing of the hospital was renamed after her. In 1929, another patient slashed her own throat using glass shards from a broken window. However, the hospital continued to grow, housing 1,400 patients during the 1960s. The hospital ceased operations in the early 2000s and now lies abandoned.